Of course, from a third-person point of view, the structures and capacities of the body are mere contingent, ultimately arbitrary facts about the kinds of creatures we happen to be, and yet those facts cannot manifest themselves as contingent and arbitrary for us, from our point of view, for they just are our perspective on the world. The body is not just one more object in the environment, for we do not, indeed cannot, understand our own bodies as merely accidentally occurring things. The point is not just that the boundary between my body and the environment cannot be drawn very sharply. What matters is not where the boundary lies, but rather that there is a difference in principle between myself and my world. My body cannot be understood simply as that chunk of the material world that sits in closest contact with my mind. However vague the material boundary between body and environment may be, it cannot collapse entirely, for an environment is an environment only for a body that cannot perceive itself as just one more object among others. I observe external objects with my body. I handle them, inspect them, and walk around them. But when it comes to my body, I never observe it itself. I would need a second body to be able to do so, which would itself be unobservable." End quote. My body is my perspective on the world, and so constitutes a kind of background field of perceptual necessity against which sensoromotor contingencies show up as contingent. Manifestly contingent facts about perception, that is, presuppose more or less invariant structures of the phenomenal field. For example, perspectival orientation in space and time and figure-ground contrast. This is why for Merleau-Ponty, the phenomenal field is always a transcendental field, that is, a space of possibilities, impossibilities, and necessities constitutive of our perceptual world. The body is not just a causal but a transcendental condition of perception, which is to say that we have no understanding of perception at all in abstraction from body and world. What Merleau-Ponty advances in phenomenology of perception, then, is in effect a new concept of experience. His aim is to realign our philosophical understanding of perception and the body with things we are always already familiar with before we begin to reflect and theorize. What we can learn from Merleau-Ponty's efforts is thus something we already knew, if only tacitly, something which we acquired neither from logical analysis nor from empirical inquiry. In this way, his work performs the recollective function of philosophy as Plato conceived it, to remind us in a flash of recognition what we feel we must already have comprehended, but had forgotten precisely owing to our immersion in the visible world.